All right. I hope. Oh boy. All right. I hope you can hear me. Right outside the Hilton Casino. Got a beautiful view in the background of their barn pool. They have these sweet whirlpool pools, so it's like one pool spinning connected to another pool. Anyways, absolutely gorgeous out here. Been slacking in the video recording. Yesterday I got kind of tipsy early on at like 6 o'clock.
Everybody in the club get tipsy.
Ended up forgetting to record, but eventually did go and play poker around 10 o'clock all the way till 3:30 in the morning. And it was a really good game. Saturday nights, Friday nights, Sunday, weekends in general, they're going to be better. And it's when a lot of tourists like myself come in, and so the game was fantastic. I ended up cashing out plus 1890, just for reference. So really, really, really good game. And I'm about to go in and play some more right now, but I thought I might as well get through the hands because that is what everyone's interested in so much. First hand I pick up is pocket fives. I'm sitting at 500 bucks, and there's only like 2 or 3 other people that have that kind of money on the table. And someone makes it 25 to go under the gun. Another person calls. I make the completion in the small blind, and the big blind folds. So it's 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 5 queen. So pretty great flop. The person who raised had about 350 in front of him, so a decent stack size to gather. The other player had about 200, so 350 effective. $75 in the pot. I go ahead and I check it to the pre-flop raiser. He leads out for $50. The other player folds. It sucks, but hey. I bump it up to 135. So you guys, he's pretty short. I don't need to make a full 3x raise. And he goes ahead and snap calls. He just snaps me off. Turn comes the 6 of clubs, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. So he only has about 200-ish behind. And with the pot being well over 200, I go ahead and I ship it in there, put them all in, and he obliges, snaps me off. River comes the 8 of diamonds, so complete brick. I table my 5s, and they're good. So things are off to a great start. Next hand I pick up was a couple orbits later. I'm sitting now pretty deep, somewhere around 900. One other player who was from England, shout out to this guy. He's like some older dude, doesn't really play often, but he was cleaning the table up because he was getting some hands and making them and getting paid. So I'm playing against this guy in this hand. He's got about $800 effective. So it starts off with me in big blind with 9-10 of spades. Folds under the gun. One person limps. This England guy makes it 25 to go. 2 callers on my right. Folds around to me in the big blind. I make the completion and solo's the first limper. So 5 ways to a flop, $125 in the pot. Flop comes down ace 7-8 rainbow. So pretty good flop for myself. I check it. Under the gun checks it. England guy leads out for $65. One person calls on his left. Folds around to me. I go ahead and I make the call as well. Nope, I could consider raising here because we are so deep, but we're not that deep. We're less than 200 big blinds effective, and I would really hate to raise this flop and miss the turn, because then it puts me in a really awkward position being first to act. Because if I bet here on the turn and I miss and he calls, I'm always shoving the river, and let's say I also bet here on the turn and he decides to raise me, I kind of have to fold just because I don't beat any of his hands. I have 10 high, and it's just not good. So I opt for the call, and the under the gun player folds. So 3 ways to the turn, and the turn is the 6 of clubs. So I turn gin, pretty nice. I check to the England guy. He goes and he bets out $100, which is pretty weak compared to the size of the pot. It's probably around a 4th. So I'm not thinking he's too strong, and if he's strong here, he's going to get all his money, most likely, if I were to check raise him, which is my plan. So he bets 100. Other player calls, so a little more money in the pot. And so I decide to bump it up to $300. Do that pretty quickly, and this England guy, snap calls me off, which is a good sign, and the other player folds. So onto the river card, heads up, and the river is a 4 of spades. Flush draw misses. I still have the nuts. I'm living in a dream world right now, and I think for about 5-6 seconds, and I ship it in there for I think $500. And he thinks for 10 seconds, and he says, you know what, I think I have to call. So he calls, and we turn over the nuts. Obviously, the nuts are the nuts, so the nuts are good. And he showed ace-jack of clubs for top pair in the turn, nut flush draw. So that was a huge pot. That was an $1,800 pot. It was really cool because it was like 1:30 in the morning at this time. Action was kind of slow, but there was a huge rail, and so the whole rail was like, oh my god, because you have a lot of tourists that don't really play. At least not 2-5. They'll probably play online or maybe in like private games for like $5-10 at home. So this is really cool for them. And yeah, so there's a lot of energy after the hand. It's really cool. Another hand I played. This one goes along the lines of a bluff. I didn't have a value hand. I just didn't feel like my opponent was strong. So it starts off. I've got 6-7 of clubs on the button. Out of the gun +1 limps. Another limper folds around to me. I make it 25 to go, try and isolate some players, and we're pretty deep. I've got 2K in front of me, a couple people in this hand. I've limped, have about 500, so raise it up, get some money in the pot. Plus I'm in position, so that helps my hand out a lot. Fun fact, whenever you're in position, your hand equity strength, not in reality, but just because you have position, it goes up about 10 to 15%, just for reference. So it's always good to add that to your hand strength just because you are in position. So bump it up to 25, get 2 callers, and we go 3 ways to a flop. Flop is 5-3 ace with 1 club. Flop a gut shot with backdoor flush draw. Checks around to me. I go ahead and I c-bet or continuation bet for $40. One player calls. It was this person that I'm going to now bluff out, and the other player folds. Turn comes the 10 of spades. He checks to me, and I go ahead and I bet $80. He thinks about it for a very long time. And he decides on a call. So, got a gut shot still have some equity in his hand, but at this point I'm double barrel bluffing. Hopefully this gets through. So it doesn't get through, he makes the call, and the river comes, I think, a queen, offsuit queen. So my hand's pretty dead. I got 7 high, can't really win with 7 high, so gonna have to bluff this river. But he goes and he leads out, instead of checking, for $45. Now, I don't necessarily know what this means. I think that a lot of the time it is a blocker bet. Sometimes it's a 2-pair type hand, but I've found that in these games specifically, against both the Islanders and the tourists, it's very weak passive, very weak in general. So when they're betting 45, I'm putting him on like maybe an ace-jack, maybe a random ace-x 2-pair hand, but like not ace-queen, not ace-10, maybe queen-10, something like that. So given that and the fact that I can't really win with 7 high, definitely not calling 45, I bump it up to $180, and he thinks about it for pretty long, probably 30-45 seconds, but he ends up on a fold. So that's good news for me. I don't show the bluff. No, I don't show my bluffs. You gotta pay to see that stuff. I got one more hand for y'all. This was around the same time as the 6-7 hand happened. I pick up pocket 10s on the button. Again, great in position, strong hand. Someone makes it 25. One caller folds to me. This guy has about $600 in front of him. He's playing a decent amount of hands, so I opt to 3-bet this hand. Go ahead and I make it $90 to go. Folds around to him, he makes the call, and the other player folds. Flop comes King 10-4, rainbow. So again, a pretty nice flop, running well, also playing well, but running well for sure. He checks it over to me, $200 in the pot. So I continuation bet for $100, half pot. Don't need to go much bigger. With the pot so big, I can get him all in on the turn if I wanted to. Oh, and there go the legs. Fortunately, this camera adjusted. Okay, so bet $100, and he makes the call. River comes the 4 of diamonds, so pairing the board, I fill up on the turn. My hand's pretty nutted now, not too afraid of any turn cards or any river cards. He checks it over to me, and so I don't need to bet that much. I really have a locked up hand, so at this point I'm trying just to get value. And the fact that there isn't a flush draw out there really makes me think he has a 1-pair type hand. And if he has a hand like queen jack, ace jack, ace queen, I want to give him odds to call, but I don't want to give him the free card. A lot of people make the mistake, like in rounders, you'll see them check, like, oh, I want Teddy KGB to fill up, so I'm going to, to make his flush, so I'm going to check here. No, what you want to do is you want to juice your opponent for as much as you can. So give them a good price so that they call and still think their hand is good on the river. So I make a really small bet. I bet $80, and he goes ahead. He makes the call. River comes the ace of diamonds, so no flush out there. But the queen jack straight draw does get there. He looks at his hand, thinks for a little bit, and then he checks it over to me. He's got about around $300 left, and the pot's probably around 400. My math's off right now, but I just consider all my options, thinking hands like queens and jacks are going to fold to bets on the river anyway. A king will probably still call me, especially with how weak and passive they are. They're not really folding here. And with the king, he's got ace king, he's got queen jack, he's obviously not folding. If he has me beat, he's also not folding. So I rip it in, $350, put them all in, and he snap folds. So don't get the max there, but definitely got value for my hand, another $250, $300. And yeah, life's pretty good. So everything's going great here in Aruba. I'm a 4-day winner, hoping to make it 5. Game goes on every night at this Hilton casino. I've gotten to be good friends with the floor. They say they get 2 5 games off every night, which is fantastic. Sunday night, so I'm gonna have a lot of people trickling in, hopefully from the bars right down the street, and that should make the game good. Approximate time right now is about 8 p.m. So let's head on in there, set a seat, and let's start the action.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the 3rd part of this Aruba trip. There might be one more video. I have to go through the videos of all the footage I have and see if I have any more. If not, this will be the last part of the series. But coming up is the WSOP Circuit event at Hammond, Indiana at the Horseshoe. That's happening this week, so I'll make sure to have a lot of footage on that. So stay tuned for more vlogs, more poker action, and I'll catch you on the flip side.